Elworth's returnee, ally or foe. Now that we finished chapter 4, I figured we can go ahead and kind of like continue reading into this Helot storyline. I think it says to finish chapter 4 first. Ally or foe, part 2. Are you sure this is the place? Hmm. Lily can feel it. Sister Helot is right here. Sister Helot. When does she ever call her that? Oh, maybe it was in chapter 3? Lily also heard another voice. That mountain is calling to Lily. A mountain range stretches out before you, its peaks, perpetually eroded by snow, bathed in a golden light, standing solemnly upon the frozen plains. The call of the mountains. Is it because Helot is there? Can you two sense each other? According to Doll, the expedition team should be arriving around now, too. Let's wait here for them. Researchers from Mythag, traveling thousands of miles to survey such a dangerous place. Perhaps it's because people like them exist that this world can still hold on to a sliver of peace amidst all this madness. Mr. Solomon, what do you mean? I don't understand. Lily tugged at the corner of your clothes again. You crouched down and smiled at her. What I mean is, in a little while, a whole group of big brothers and sisters will come to play with Lily, but this place is very dangerous, and they don't have the ability to protect themselves. But we can. Lily. Lily, can you? Of course. Lily is really strong. Lily will protect them, right? Sure. Uh, monsters! The sound of commotion carried over from afar, interrupting the conversation. You and Lily exchange a glance. Taking her hand, you run towards the source of the sounds. You swiftly deal with the approaching monsters, then turn back towards the camp. Is everyone all right? The group at the camp numbered about a dozen people, mostly frail non-combatants. They stared at the terrifying creatures in panic, putting up only limited resistance. Thank you so much, sir. We wouldn't have made it without you. Judging by your attire, you don't look like a professional surveyors. What brings you to a place like this? Oh, I received a message from Doll saying she'd be sending a student over Solomon. That would be you, right? His voice sounded calm and steady. He wore a school badge communicator on his chest. By the looks of it, he was a professor conducting field research that Doll had mentioned. Elvis. Running into a student from our own university while surveying in Elworth. What a pleasant surprise. Hello. Nice to meet you. I'm a professor of paleontology at Mythag University, and also a professional mountaineer. Nice to meet you, Professor. Just call me Elvis. I didn't notice before. There's such a little child hiding by your side. This place is covered in ice and snow, and she's wearing such thin clothes. Aren't you worried she'll freeze? Lily isn't cold. Lily's here to protect everyone. What an adorable little one. Well then, thanks to Solomon, we didn't expend too much energy dealing with those creatures. Everyone had quite a scare. Let's rest at the camp for a while. Lily was held in the arms of the medic, while the sun-tanned Elvis made funny faces at her to cheer her up. A crowd of team members huddled around her, shielding her from the snow and wind while stuffing her tiny palms, full of chocolate and nuts. For those people who constantly faced the threats of death, a child's smile was their only remaining solace. There's so much to finish. Lily's cheeks were stuffed with nuts as her little teeth gnawed on the frozen hard chocolate. Her eyes curved into happy crescents. Noticing your gaze, Lily hopped down from the medic's lap and pattered over to your side. That lady smells a lot like Mommy. Lily often smelled that scent during surgeries. It's very familiar. So Lily is willing to play with them for now? Lily looked at you very earnestly. Mr. Solomon, it's very important. but these brothers and sisters are all very nice to Lily, and Lily likes being with them too. He patted Lily on the head and surveyed the surroundings. Passed by a pit, a nauseating stench wafted up from within. How strange. In this frozen landscape of ice and snow, why would such a smell come from this pit? Elvis leaned in closer. Dormant volcanoes exist beneath Elworth's ice fields. It's probably toxic gas from a magma reaction. I don't think anything serious. You looked around. It was just you and Elvis. You walked over to his side and lowered your voice. Professor, is it really okay for the ordinary members of the expedition to see those monsters? Don't worry. They can't see the traces of disillusion. As for animals' bizarre behavior, I've always explained it away, saying it's a biological virus unique to Elworth that causes them to become like that once infected. Since I'm the only scholar on the team with any connection to biology, everyone believes me without question. A bunch of fucking idiots. No one wants to take a second look at those animals, so they won't discover anything. You nodded. The guide's deep voice came from not far away. Everyone's rested enough. While it's still early, let's pack up camp and start climbing as soon as possible. Soon, you packed up the camp and followed the guide's lead upward. Along the way, the gnawed remains of horses were scattered by the roadside, bleached bones buried beneath the snow. These colorful scraps of cloth. The mountaineers who died on the path years ago. The way they died were all sorts of bizarre. Some froze to death, some were buried alive by avalanches, some fell from the summit. Too many people have died on this mountain. Horses can serve as mounts and can also be slaughtered for food. Just further up, horses can't go any higher. The guy gestured with his chin, motioning you to look at the corpse lying on the path. It was largely covered by ice and snow, its skin showing a dark purplish blue hue, frozen in the posture of crawling out of a sleeping bag, wearing an eerie, bitter smile. Paradoxical undressing and bitter smile, classic signs of death by freezing. The remains of mountaineers who died on the snowy peaks typically serve as landmarks for those who come later to find their way. I have friends who stayed behind on this mountain. May I go check this one mountaineer's name tag? Of course. Oh, that was Elvis. Why didn't they have him up on the screen? Elvis stepped through the soft snow, walking step by step towards the rigid corpse. He tried to move it aside to reveal the name tag on the sleeping bag. The next instant, at the moment he was completely caught off guard, a purplish blue human body covered in ice and snow lunged out from the sleeping bag. The nameless corpse, smiling eerily, reached its hand, smeared with pitch black sticky fluid towards Elvis, who had fallen to the ground. Ah! Monster! Everyone, watch out. Lily! Sure. Black orbs appeared beside Lily, hurtling towards these grotesquely contorted corpses. Soon, the black pustules within the corpses were purged by your group. Ah, it's the mountain god. Those who desecrate the divine shall suffer divine punishment. Irreverent outsiders, trespassing upon the sanctuary where the gods dwell. You are not welcome here. Leave. Leave. This was the Elworth local, hired by the survey team. He had worn a sullen expression the entire journey, but now displayed a sickly fervor. The entire team fell silent. The corpse that had suddenly sprung to life moments ago, and the locals' mad murmurs, cast a cloud of fear over the whole survey team. Aside from the few of you from Mida, no one had ever encountered a situation like this. What was that just now? I'm not sure. You couldn't answer. Under the terms of the Mystadia Accord, you were obligated to keep the secret from outsiders and not reveal the existence of the disillusion phenomenon to ordinary people. The local's face was ashen, his lips squirming as they spit out repulsive murmurs, like maggots struggling to crawl from his mouth. Could it really be a god? The guide, having regained his composure, furrowed his brow, but still shook his head resolutely. The professor explained earlier that those strange animals were suspected of attacking people after being infected by a virus, so it's possible that humans could also exhibit aggressive behavior after infection. This is something explainable within the realm of science. We shouldn't let our imaginations run wild. The guide's voice was steady and strong, seemingly quite reliable, yet his fists behind his back were trembling slightly. He tried to fabricate a credible, reassuring explanation for the others, and for himself. The frightened surveyors clearly weren't convinced by the superficial explanation, but their expressions gradually calmed as they buried their unease deep within and began packing up to set off once more. Thousands of meters up, on a snow-covered mountain, facing an unknown abyss, people needed a false comfort. They needed something to believe in. The survey team, it returned to silence, resumed their climb up the peak. You spent 2 days climbing the mountain, gradually adapting to the climate here. The survey team gathered plenty of results, but there wasn't much joy to be seen on anyone's face. Well, yeah, it's frozen hellscape. It sounds miserable. Those eerie incidents continued to trouble everyone, every uninformed member. The rock samples collected along the path were already sufficient. If you still insist on pressing further upward, the survey team would be unable to continue with you. He paused, his tone somewhat apologetic. I need to be responsible for everyone's safety. After climbing upward for a long time, you still couldn't find any trace of GHELOT. The summit was engulfed by fierce wind and blizzard. Should you abandon the operation and descend with the team, or press on against all odds and continue climbing to the summit, you need to make a choice. Mr. Solomon, there's a familiar scent here. Lily can sense it. She would be able to smell it. Roar! Up ahead, there are monsters? GHELOT is just ahead. She might be in danger. Following Lily's guidance, you turned along the winding path and spotted figures slowly approaching you. That's GHELOT? You rushed forward with long strides. The maiden was thinly dressed. Hearing your shouts, she stopped in the snow, warily looking in your direction. Indeed, that was unmistakably GHELOT's face, but you couldn't be certain right away. Her aura was completely different from the last time you saw her. Startled by your commotion, that wary expression of hers was like a beast, cornered on all sides, ready to unleash a lethal strike at any moment. The beast's entire body was taut, holding her breath in a fixed gaze. The next moment she bared her teeth in a grin, and that brief confusion in her eyes gave way entirely to hostility and killing intent. GHELOT took a step forward and struck without warning. A massive flail materialized in her hand and came howling towards you. A dull thud. The guide was violently grazed and sent flying by the pitch-black flare. The scalding blood that burst forth melted the perennially frozen snow and ice, staining the tips of the climbing boots frozen stiff nearby, a vivid red. Everyone, fall back! Before all eyes, GHELOT charged towards the crowd like a beast driven mad, her hair wild. Solomon, think of something. This mad woman is really trying to kill everyone. She's completely lost her mind. We have to stop her by force. You drew out the silver key from your chest, focused your mind, and channeled spiritual energy. A layer of gentle silver radiance rippled around you. The silver radiance gently invaded GHELOT's consciousness. Her frenzied spirit realm howled like with raging winds, resisting your link with all its might. A roar closed in before your eyes. GHELOT, stop this. GHELOT let out a heart-rending roar. She hurled her chain ball in a frenzy, smashing everything on the snow mountain to pieces. All that commotion! This maniac! Not only is she hurting people indiscriminately, does she want to trigger an avalanche too? She doesn't seem to remember anything at all. What on earth happened to her? Solomon, think of it. Get this maniac under control. Let's try to remember. It's me. Ding! At last, the gentle silver radiance struggled through the surging consciousness and shone into Helet's eyes, wild with madness. Helet felt as if she were floating in a silver river, overflowing with radiance, letting the water gently cradle her spirit. She struggled to break free, yet the flowing water wrapped around her ever more tenderly, pulling her deeper and deeper. I've only barely suppressed your tendency towards madness. Your consciousness is still trying to break free from the link. You don't want to stay here, do you? The madness in Helet's eyes was gone, but her gaze was still scorching, locked onto yours like a predator eyeing a piece of meat. I don't belong here. She enunciated each word deliberately, making a simple confess sound like a threat. Then, do you remember where you do belong? Helet fell silent. I don't know what happened to you. Perhaps until you return to normal, we could work together. Elworth is far too strange and unpredictable. Now that you've found Helet, leaving as soon as possible is your highest priority mission. You need her to be controllable. Seeing that Helet remained silent, yet her mind kept trying to break free from your link, your expression darkened. Your mental state is extremely unstable. Without a link on you, there's a high chance you'll mutate again into a monster that lost its human form and sanity. You don't want that either, do you? A fierce fire ignited in Helet's eyes. She bared her sharp teeth, grinning at you. The gaze she fixed on you was like a beast eyeing its prey. Threats and coercion. What a bastard. Once I've stabilized, I'll tear you apart, devour you, and pick you clean. You met her gaze without a shred of fear. I'll be waiting, but for now, you have to listen to me. Jesus. That was Ally or Foe, the second story of Elworth's Returnee. Thank you for watching.